Hi everyone, so this is the first video of a series I'm thinking of publishing for you guys to watch and hopefully make use of. In this video I'm going to be showing you some examples of using Wolfram Mathematica, and for the first one I'd like to show you how to make plots using Mathematica. While you can of course use Mathematica for simple calculations such as 1 plus 1 and then press on Shift and Enter together to get an answer, you could also use Mathematica to do function plotting. So for example, if I'm interested in plotting the sine of x from, for example, negative pi to pi, this is how I would do it. I would write plot, and then I would have these square brackets, and plot like any other Mathematica command starts with an uppercase letter P, and afterwards after we write down your plot function or any Mathematica function, you have this function in square brackets, and inside I'm interested in plotting a sine wave, so I use another command which is sine, and right here my variable x, and I need to define the values that x, or the interval of values that x can take. So I can write from negative pi to pi, right, and then press shift enter. This is what I would get. As a matter of fact, let me show you here, when you move around your cursor on Mathematica, you get to see that we have these cells, and we call this an input cell because we basically input something here, and this is an output cell. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select this input cell and then copy it using a keyboard shortcut and then paste it here because I'd like to make some changes to it. So another way of writing this pi in a nicer way would be using what is called an escape sequence. You basically press on your keyboard the escape button followed by the letter P, and then another escape button, and automatically this changes this letter P into a pi. I'm going to do the same here for this one, so I press escape, and you see as soon as I press escape you have these three dashes that show up on top of each other, and then I press on P and then another escape, right, and then shift enter, and I get the same thing. Now let's assume that I would like to maybe plot another sine function, but this time I would like to plot it with a different frequency. So maybe I'm interested in plotting sine of 3x, and this is what I would get. And maybe I'm also interested in, let me paste that right here. I'm interested in plotting the absolute value of sine of 3x. So this is what I'm going to do, and you'll notice here that this is what I get. I can also write here 3, and this is the plot of sine 3x. We could also be interested in showing these curves or these plots next to one another. What we could do is, first of all, give them names. So I'm going to give this plot P1 and type equal, and then press shift enter. So this is my P1 plot, and then maybe this one I'm going to give it the name P2 equal, and then shift enter. And finally, maybe for this one I would call it P3 equal and press on shift enter. And now what I could do is write the following command: graphics grid, right, and then this is a Mathematica command, so I follow it off with a couple of brackets right here, and then I have a list of these plots, so I write my curly braces and then list these plots P1, P2, P3, and then press shift enter. Okay, apparently I did something wrong. Yes, I forgot to put my list in a bigger list, I think, and if I do this, I think this should fix it. I press shift enter, and here I have all three plots next to one another. But maybe I also like to write on top of them their names, and one thing you could do, you could start writing something, for example, K here, and you see now this is a new cell because you see at the end it's a new cell here. I can actually erase that, and then on top of this cursor, press right click, and maybe I can choose this insert table or matrix, and I get to choose the number of rows or columns. So maybe I would say, you know, I'd like only 2 rows and 3 columns. I can also make this choice of draw frame, right, and maybe draw lines between rows and columns. You know, you get to choose. Maybe I just have to use these ones between columns. So this is what I would get here, and I can simply then, you know, press on, okay, these, let's take the plots right here. I can use it or click on it and then press Ctrl C, copy it, and then maybe come here and paste it. And I can write here on the top, y is equal to the sine of x. And then I can also do the same for the other plots. So I copy this one, copy graphic, and then paste it here, paste, and write here that this is y equal the sine of 3x, right? And then for the last one, copy, paste, and this would be y is the absolute value of sine 3x, right? So this is what you could do. I think there might be a better way of representing this by, well, let's just, for the time being, let's just leave it like that. So this is what you have here. I can also maybe, I can start moving around or resizing these as I make them bigger. The whole thing, my whole table, as you can see, increases in size. And this is what I have. So this was a very basic introduction of how to make plots, how to make changes to them. And maybe some of you would say, well, this is all nice, but how can we maybe introduce these plots in a different manner? How can we maybe, you know, have frames? So what I could do also is, let's try to plot the cosine of x, right? And make it in a frame. So this is cosine of x, and maybe I can give this x to range from negative 2 pi, right, to positive 2 pi. This is what I would get. And then if I want to have a frame, I can write a comma, then write frame. And then on your keyboard, what you're going to do is you press on it, the dash, followed by the sign for greater than. And as soon as you press on space, this dash and the greater than sign, they automatically turn into an arrow. And then you could write true, right, and press Shift Enter, and this is what you have. And we could also maybe want to include labels, so I could also write frame labels, right, frame label, and then have this, and have a list signifying what you have for the x and the y axes. So for the x, I could write just x, and y, I could write y is equal to cosine x, and when this is exactly what I have. Or maybe just y, this is what you want to have. You can also want to maybe write on top of the curve, like somewhere here, that this is y equal cosine x. So we call this an epilogue, right? So you write epilogue, and then you could write text. This allows you to input some text. So you need to first of all define what the text is. So y is cosine of x. And you need to specify where you want it. You need to specify the coordinates of where this text is going to be. So maybe I am going to write my x coordinate to be at 2 and my y to be at maybe 5. Let me run this. So this is what I get. And this is one way of doing it. Maybe you have different options you'd like to do. So what I could also do is right here, style, right? And here, right, maybe font or font size. You see these all the time as I'm writing, I have these menus that pop up and they help you to write down what you want or make changes. So now it's 14. Maybe I could push this a bit to 2.5, and this is how it looks like. You could also maybe, you know, highlight this and then press and Control I to get it in italics. This is one thing you could do. What else? You could also, if you want to, you could add grid lines at the back. So you could write grid lines and then true. No, maybe it's not true. It's automatic, right? Says this is what you get. They do not really look very nice. I could just remove it, or I could write false. No, so I guess I need to remove it. And this is what I get. You could also maybe be interested in plotting more than one curve on top of each other for comparison purposes. So let's assume I'd like to plot both of sine and cosine, and I'd like these to run from x running from negative pi or negative 2 pi all the way to 2 pi. And since I'm going to be plotting more than one curve, I need to put them in a list. So this is what I would do. I would write y equal the sine of x, and then another one which is y equal the cosine of x. Maybe, yeah, here we go. You see, I could write y equal sine and y equal cosine, or I could just remove these. There's no need to write y equal. You'd get the same result. And they automatically have or are plotted with different colors. You could, of course, you know, come back and have this frame on, as well as your frame labels on again, right? This is x, and here we have it for y. And this is what we get, right? I hope this has been useful, and stay tuned for more new videos.